Shakutali.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to Newsline. And we're broadcasting live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And very good morning to you, Bangla.
Morning.
Wonderful morning. Do you have a good weekend?
Yeah, definitely. And but your friend is in the news. Let's talk about it.
Indeed. We'll do that all in good time. And we're joined this morning by, and I'm going to let Bandula introduce our guest.
Naganand Kodituaku, who is attorney at law, but he was also in charge of
the serious fraud investigation.
The serious fraud investigation, customs long before, and he was a lawyer at that time.
That's right.
Indeed. Very interesting to finally meet up with you, Mr. Kodituaku.
Yeah.
I want to say to you, I thought this morning we'll talk about corruption.
Correct.
It's always a good topic as any, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Basically, at the weekend, an advertisement in the Sunday Times newspaper in the main section caught my eye.
Yeah.
It was a half-page advertisement. I don't know whether our producers can actually put this on air, the advertisement show now. But anyway, it was a half-page advertisement put out by the Minister of Finance. Now, I thought it was very remarkable. I think we're going to play that. We're going to just put that advertisement up on the air now, and there you are. That is. It says, "Just say no. Help us fight corruption." And the Ministry of Finance claims it's very good. It says, "Don't pay anyone to meet the minister. Don't pay anyone to get an appointment, etc." All excellent. But there is one line that I call a golden nugget in that newspaper advertisement, and that is, it says there that we have identified the culprits.
Yeah.
It goes on to say we will use the full force of the law to deal with them. Bravo, excellent. What I'd like to know is, we'd like to have a formal statement from the ministry as to who these culprits are, to which authority were they reported to, is there a case number, can we have confirmation from, it'll have to be the Bribery Commission or the police, can we have their confirmation that's, it's not like we're saying that the ministry is being economical with the truth, but we'd like the whole truth, because this is only part of the truth.
Right to information.
It is the right to information. We would like to know that. We'd like the Ministry of Finance to say who these culprits are, to whom have you reported the matter, and what is the basis, what rules have been broken. So there you are, a sort of proactive ministry putting an advertisement, but hiding some of the stuff.
Then it's not worth having that advertisement if they're going to hide all that.
That's right. What's your take on this?
In this country, order of the day is deception of the people. It's very sad to say that. So the country and the people, they know what is happening in and out, in the government as well as in the opposition. I believe that adverts, of course, give a message to convey a message to the people, but the objective of the advert may be absolutely different from what it talks about.
Indeed.
Yeah. Because the people, and you know that very well, some time back, there was a serious charge against Mr. Ravi Karnanayak in the High Court of Colombo. You know that there's no charge can be brought against any individual in the High Court unless there's a prima facie case. Who filed that action? The Attorney General was satisfied that there was a serious charge against him with the foreign exchange fraud, and he was charged in the High Court.
That matter was eventually
exactly, which was withdrawn. By whom? By the very same person who instituted action. Who was that? The Attorney General. When was that? After this government came into power. So how come the Attorney General in this country, who found out there was a clear case against the individual, withdraw? That
yes, conflicting
exactly,
evidence.
yeah.
And the social media and also one of the weekend newspapers.
Yesterday's, the Sunday Times
carried the story, but before that we were treated to a photograph of the governor of the central bank purportedly in front of one of the most expensive or one of the better known hotels in California. All well and good, I say. He is the governor of this tiny little emerging economy called Sri Lanka, and of course we have got lots of money to spend on our officials to stay in all the better hotels in the world, only for them to come here and not address various corruption issues to which they are somehow involved.
And what about the golden jacket?
And the golden jacket, well, I mean, the golden jacket, something about, what's that?
$2 million.
$6,000 a piece.
Yeah, 2 million rupees.
Yes.
2 million rupees. And yesterday's paper had carried this photograph.
But maybe, you know, obviously he's wealthy enough to.
No,
pay for it on
he's
his own.
trying to claim it. So there's a big issue now. He's
There's a
trying to claim
tussle.
it from the bank.
Okay.
Yes, but I don't think he'll try that. Do you?
Yeah, but that's
He's
really
got
what
enough
the
money.
media says. So he can say no if he's not.
Yes,
Let's
he can.
wait and see.
And I also would like a response to him about who paid for the choppers to go to Katragama or to Yala. We're still waiting for answers. We're also waiting to see whether he'll be good enough to, I was nearly going to say man enough,
Yeah.
good enough to see whether he'll come on the program and explain to us why the central bank bond issue is not a controversy.
But for us, there is a talk of another second bond issue now.
That's right. That bond issue is also fraught with difficulties and high interest rates.
But I think Arjuna Mahendran is the most powerful man in this country.
Well, it appears that way because we also want to know why EPF, who are actually primary dealers, why they are engaging in the secondary market when they can just go out there and get it anyway.
What do you think, Naganand, on this?
Yeah, now you talk about the 2 million of the golden jacket,
Yeah.
and attempt to claim it from the public funds.
Yeah.
Now, this is very
If
serious.
it is true,
If it is true, of course,
yeah.
then that cannot be allowed. That should not be allowed under any circumstances.
Yeah.
You know very well. I discussed it even in the previous program.
Yeah.
And there was an attempt. But in this country, there is no, actually, we have to concede the fact there is no rule of law. There is no rule of law. Now, you know, in Britain, Jackie Smith, the foreign secretary, attempt to claim £9 on a film watched by her husband as a parliamentary expenses. Just £9. What happened? She was asked to resign for £9.
Actually, on that, I'm very, very happy that you've mentioned this.
Yeah.
I think the year was 1953.
Yeah.
Possibly before my mum and dad met each other. Anyway, the then governor of the central bank was a new Jawardena.
Yeah.
He was removed. Apparently, his offence was that he had telephoned the Standard Chartered Bank and had asked them to approve a loan for his wife. The Prime Minister at the time, Sir John Kotalabala, had initiated this action, formed a committee. This committee comprised of Supreme Court judges, and they ruled that indeed the governor had violated some form of ethics.
Yeah.
He was asked to resign. Roll back the time to 2015. Welcome to the modern age and Yar Palane and all that. And we have a governor of the central bank who, on this program, well, on this network, speaking to the director of English News on our network, being recorded and knowing that he was being recorded, says to us that he accepts responsibility for not letting the primary dealers know that the central bank's requirement for a bond of 30 years had changed from 1 billion to 30 billion, to 10 billion, a 10-time increase. And this man, who's supposedly an investment banker, who didn't come just like that. He was headhunted and brought over here to be the governor of the central bank. He admits to this thing. And very strangely, only 2 companies reached that increased requirement. Both bids are connected to one another. It has cost this country, whether this was a failure by design or by commission. The very fact is, the rates went up. This country will pay for that for the next 30 years. But there was a committee appointed by the Prime Minister of the day, Mr. Wickremesinghe. But those 3 committee members, they were not Supreme Court judges.
Yeah, I know.
They were 3 lawyers known to have been sympathetic and members of the United National Party, neither of which really matters. But the point is, a 3-member committee was appointed just as a half-hearted measure. There is no relationship to how the government of the day in 1953 acted and what appears to be a trivial matter. But it is actually not, isn't it?
Yeah,
when the man in charge of the banks calls up a manager and says, do give my wife a loan, and that man is several rungs below the nobility, below the governor,
Yeah.
I think that man's being put in a very compromising situation. Don't you think so, Bandhu? Yeah. And that is, those standards are lacking.
Yeah. So what does it show? That show the total breakdown of rule of law, the pure abuse of office by the governor of the central bank. As you said, in a similar circumstances, they should have appointed a fully, authorized fully with full powers, a committee or whatever, to inquire into this matter. Why the government appointed 3 lawyers?
Right.
3 average lawyers to inquire into that. That itself shows, although these people talk about Yahapalane, good governance and all of that, there is no such thing. It's behind the curtain, so many things happening. That's a clear message it conveys.
Indeed.
Exactly.
It's all very sad, really.
Exactly.
Because we have a Prime Minister who's not the majority party.
Yeah.
He is actually just merely the largest party.
Yeah.
And I believe that President Sirisena has been very gracious in the sense that he has lived up to his part of the bargain. And he's allowed Mr. Wickremesinghe to run the day-to-day affairs of the country.
Yeah.
And so in that respect he's delegated that. Now that he's delegated it, it sounds as though the people who are being tasked with carrying these different tasks out are not doing it properly, are they?
Exactly.
The country is being burdened. What about the VAT on the telecommunications, on communications?
You know what is the percentage there? 15% increase, isn't it?
It's another 15%.
Yeah.
It'll bring it all up to just about 44%.
At the same time, this government offer 225 tax-free permits to the politicians.
It's why should. I know that your background was a customs man.
Yeah.
Why should the members of parliament be given a duty-free or concessionary permit? Why?
Yeah, from the viewer's point of view, from the people's point of view, it's a very, very valid and important question.
Yeah.
The customs law require, under sections 10 of the customs law, enacted by the parliament, any goods enumerated in the schedule A of the customs law, duties shall be paid. Under certain circumstances, parliament can waive that duty only in the public interest. For example, under the customs law, the minister in charge of finance, section 19, authorized to waive custom duty for certain goods only in the public interest. If there's a element of public interest, he can do so. So how these permits are issued? Do you
So
know?
isn't there a public interest?
That is the issue now. Here, permit is issued with a permission. Earlier, of course, all these permits were issued with a subject to a condition that the permit cannot be disposed of, or permit or the vehicle. Vehicle imported under the permit cannot be disposed of in any manner, sell, mortgage, or in any manner for a period of 5 years.
Yes.
Now, what happened later on?
But there was a circular saying...
No. When I was in the customs,
Yeah.
I used my officers, employed my officers to see some vehicles, right, which was available in the market. That time he was the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister was Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe.
So you're talking 2001?
Yeah, no, before that, prior to that.
Yeah.
And we see few vehicles, one single day 6 vehicles. And we purchased this vehicle, where we used public funds and purchased these vehicles, and dealer was caught, vehicle was seized, and what happened? The order came from Prime Minister to release all these vehicles back to the owners of the, license, permit holder. And the strict instructions was given to that time the Director of Customs not to seize any more vehicles. And the following weekend, I can still remember, Sillumina, it carried the message. Reguata Nithiata Vadagan lesa Agametiking Anna. Who was the Prime Minister? Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now, what is the procedure now? They have done away with all these conditions, and now the permit holder is allowed to sell the permit which he get today, following day in the open market. And this is what is the encouraging.
It's a license to print money.
Exactly. No, this is clear abuse of public fund. For example, for a single permit, the duty element is about 15 million, 20 million, goes on. When they waive this tax, who gets it? I have shown these documents to the Supreme Court. With the agreement, and I produced even the agreement entered into between the permit holder and the dealer.
Yeah.
And half of the permit value, half of the amount agreed between the parties, maybe 20 million, 15 million, whatever, is paid upfront. Balance half is paid after the vehicle is imported. What money is this? Tax revenue. This is pure abuse of public fund. At the same time, I showed another important document to the Supreme Court. In that particular document shows a duty paid on a very small car, 600cc Maruti car. You know the amount of duty the average car, the 3-wheel, all these small vehicles. On that particular vehicle, importer paid 1.4 million. Okay? 1.4 million on a Maruti car. How fair it is, while you charge such a amount, big amount on a smallest car, and permitting somebody, I can challenge you. Produce a single vehicle running on the road, driven by, the tax revenue, element on tax 300% on a diesel car. I can challenge you if you can produce a one vehicle running on the road, diesel driven vehicle, I will pay you $500,000. $500,000 I will pay you if you can produce a single vehicle running on the road, imported on payment of tax. I can assure you not a single vehicle running on the road on payment of tax, imported on payment of tax. So this is the whole system. Mr. Wickremesinghe's government talk about the corruption, and they talk about the rule of law.
I have an interesting comment from a viewer who's just returned back from holiday, apparently. Permits are given to MPs for them to make money and spend it during elections. What do you think of that?
You know, this is the state of affairs in this country is really funny. What you said is absolutely right. Now, just the permit is one thing. Permit is given, they know very well, and I can still remember when P.B. Jayasundara was the Secretary to the Minister of Finance. And that time, I still remember the permit issued to the public officers were subject to license. 5-year restriction was there to dispose. The vehicles imported under permits were not allowed to sell in the market. And the custom officers, they seized about 180 vehicles imported on permits. Okay? And what happened? Immediately, P.B. Jayasundara intervened. That time, the payments were subject to conditions.
He said in almost a famous speech. Dr. Jayasundara said he likened himself to the butler. He said that the butler is loyal to the presidency. Not the president, you see. He's loyal to the presidency. So when the presidency asks the butler for a glass of water, the presidency shall receive a glass of water. In the same way, when the presidency wants some
Favors granted.
something done, the butler will have to comply. A case in point is something that is going on within the courts now.
Yeah.
We had the former chairman of the SEC, Dr. Nalaka Godeva, who's been at the center of various claims and issues, but he was finally taken to court for having authorized the transfer of 5 million rupees, which the board had previously agreed to fund some knowledge of the stock exchange within the youth in the south. But the board, that was what the board agreed. But apparently Dr. Godeva and some others had permitted this money to be transferred elsewhere. Now the thing is, what do you think would have happened to, okay, Godeva is a political appointment, but somebody else along with him was working at the SEC. What do you think would have happened to that man if he had refused to follow instructions?
It's an important point that you raise. I think you can recollect there was an important case that is called Nuremberg trial. In the Nuremberg trial, you mentioned about the president and the role played by P.B. Jayasundara.
And the butler.
And what I wanted to emphasize here.
Yeah.
And the law says, you may get orders from above.
Yeah.
If you are confident, if you are convinced that the order is unlawful, you are not supposed to carry out that order. If you carry out any illegal order, if you commit an offense, it is not an excuse. Law does not recognize...
Because he is the chief accounting officer.
Exactly. So he cannot rely on that. He cannot claim that I did it just because the president wants. That is why he is charged.
But yes, however, what I'm saying is, how many people, in actual fact, how many of our government servants
are charged,
are going to take that view? Because, you know, like all of us, they've got a loan payment to make, they've got tuition fees to pay, they've got a life to lead. Can we reasonably expect them to carry on in the full knowledge? Let's say, well, I can't do that, I'm going home. So he goes home. What's he going to do? How's he going to pay all those bills?
But there are people who have done that. There are few.
It is, but it's very worrying that there is no kind of interim body or that somebody can go and complain to and say, look, this is what I'm being told to do. I don't want to do it because it's against the law. But if I don't do it, I might not get my next salary check. So can you intervene in the meantime? Put it on hold. I'll give you the information. I won't pass it, but I want my job secure.
But for us, no public servant will want to go in front of the FCID today. So people will not do it. I mean, this is a good thing which this government has done. They will not. They'll say, no, we can't because we are not going to be charged. They will say that.
That's true. So I suppose the FCID, what you're saying is, it has its good points.
Good points, because they will
say,
why
like
should
a
we?
Deterrent.
Yeah, because the politicians can order, but the public servant, they are the accounting officers. Politicians come and go, public servants remain.
Talking about corruption, we were treated about in 2-3 years ago, 2013, to what we call the offshore leaks, ICIJ offshore leaks. There were comprehensive details, names, addresses, the beneficiaries, the nominees, and there were 37 Sri Lankan addresses on there. As far as I know, nothing has been done. Do you think, Mr. Koritua, could that people misunderstand the difference between tax avoidance,
Yeah.
which is a mechanism to try and reduce the level of taxes you pay, legal mechanism, and between that, tax avoidance and tax evasion.
Yeah.
Tax evasion, of course, you
Yeah, the
agree
tax-
that
tax-
it's a
tax-
criminal offense.
Yeah, it's a criminal offense.
So do you
Tax
think people
evasion-
understand the difference between the two?
Definitely. People know that.
Right.
People know that. What we talk about here, all this is tax evasion.
Yes.
Deliberate evasion of payment of tax. Now, in Britain, as I must tell you, there's a law called Public Interest Disclosure Law.
Right.
That under that law, any public official is protected by law for exposing corruption. No action can be taken against that. For example, say that Jayasundar wants something to be dealt with. I mean, some illegal action to be taken, lose about, which costs billions of revenue to the government. And some officer in the customs or inland revenue or excise can straight away report against corruption against PB Jayasundara. Openly he can come forward and make a declaration. Okay, he can declare there is a fraud involving corruption, the PB Jayasundara. But whereas unfortunately in this country we don't have such a law, public interest disclosure law. So the law protect the interest of that public officer. Here, what happens when he make an order, unlawful order?
Yeah.
So there's a matter pending in the Corruption Commission now.
Yeah.
I have reported PB Jayasundara to the Corruption Commission for a fraud.
But do you think these matters will ever be taken up? Because I was looking at some figures the other day. Apparently, 900,000 court cases are carried forward from 1 year to the other. So the average is around 900,000. I got my calculator out and calculated that if the court system worked another 2 hours every day, 5 days a week, they could reduce that 900,000 by about 40%, because you can hear 40% more cases in the additional 2 hours that you would work.
Yeah.
So 40 times 900,000 is 360,000, I make it. So instead of carrying forward 900,000 cases, you'd carry forward 540,000.
That is, yeah.
That's one thing, isn't it? Because obviously matters like yours are hanging in the court system.
Yeah, that's now, for example, in this country, right violation issues. Supreme Court is required by law to hear and determine within a matter of 2 months. And any action against the election commissioner also court require to hear and determine within a matter of 2 months. Now there is a matter pending in the Supreme Court that is about the appointment of rejected candidates through the national list. Now when was the election held? August last year. Now we are reaching the August this year. Right? Still the matter is pending in courts. So where do we stand now? Where the justice system stands? In Europe, in the first day in the courthouse, this type of things never occur. Both parties are summoned to court, and they have to, that is called management hearing. At the management hearing, both parties are given option, and they are required to specifically inform court how many hours they require, and the court fix the hearing accordingly on that particular day, only on that case or another case if the court can accommodate. Whereas here, if you go to Supreme Court or any other court, you will observe you can't see the judges. The volume of papers are like the files in front of them is such, and keep calling, all are calling matters, and after that 1 or 2 cases taken up for support or whatever arguments. This has to be.
You can't only blame the judges, because the lawyers also wanted this postponed because they can earn money.
Indeed. So what we have to say to our viewers, what we have to say to Mr. Korituaku is thank you very much for having been on Newsline, and we look forward to welcoming you again on our network at some point. Bundle, thank you. But what I was going to say is wake up, do petition your Member of Parliament, tell him or her that you're not happy with the corruption that's going on. Send them an email, send them a text message, but talk to them. On that note, thank you for having watched Newsline. Take care, have a great day, and indeed a wonderful week ahead of you. God bless.
News